Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. See, we shoot for the stars. That's why Will's here. He joins us every Monday.
Yeah, I'm mad Deese. I feel mid right now.
You should not. You should not.
This segment's brought to you by Espresso and Sam Jones Barbecue for like giving me some kind of energy.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You might have been awake very late, as I was last night with the Carolina Hurricanes, who were, speaking of mid, they were pretty mid yesterday. But that's all.
Hurricanes outscored NC State on Saturday. That was cool.
Saturday, and they tied them on Sunday.
Lovely.
And credited with 9 goals overall, but of course the last goal on Saturday was the shootout. We have, State is not good offensively, and they played one of the best defenses in the country in Duke. I'm sorry, that's just the truth.
I don't know. I don't even know why I brought it up, to be honest.
It's all right. It's okay. I have I have things to say about. There's a lot to say today. I'm lobbying. I think I'm going to be denied. I'm lobbying for 2 extra hours today. I don't think I'm going to get it. Let me ask you about the game that happened, America's game of the week, if you will, on a different network. This is why I guess the Jets thought that they were Super Bowl contenders with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I know statistically their defense hasn't been great, but man, what they did to the Bills this year, what they did to the Chiefs offense except for that final drive, and what they did to the Eagles yesterday after 14 early points was very impressive without their top 2 cornerbacks. Is that just a blip? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, we're at the point of the season where, you need to, like, on the podcast last night, Ryan Wilson was complaining about, like, saying the Bills stink or whatever because they barely beat the Giants. To me, it's like at this point, you have teams like the Jets are going to go. I mean, the teams already had their buys, right? I mean, teams had buys 2 weeks ago. Teams are going. We know enough where we can take a step back, 6 weeks in, 6-ish weeks in, and look at a roster in totality, right? Or a schedule in totality, not a roster. Excuse me. And they beat the Bills in sort of a fluky game 1. Rodgers gets hurt. It's just hard to like really encapsulate like a week 1 win like that where you walk off in overtime on a punt return touchdown after your Hall of Fame quarterback you traded for in the offseason tears his Achilles on the 5th snap. They get smoked by the Cowboys. Good Dallas team, not a great Dallas team. Lose to the Patriots in a close game. Bill Belichick's beaten them like 42 straight times.
Yeah.
Barely lose to the Chiefs in a really close
high water mark for Bill, game. By the way.
I mean, that's Bill's only win this year, yeah.
It's the high water mark, yes.
And then you beat the Broncos largely thanks to your defense. And after giving up 2 touchdowns on your first 3 series against an Eagles offense that was throwing the ball all over the place, they couldn't run on them. You hold them scoreless on their final 7 possessions. Like that's without your top 2 cornerbacks.
Yep.
And missing an offensive lineman. And of course, as
their
Robert
best
Saleh pointed
offensive
out,
lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker, is their best offensive lineman.
Yeah, I mean, they're really banged up. They have a schedule coming out of the bye where it's at Giants, Chargers, at Raiders, at Bills, Dolphins. Where like if you can go 3-2 in that stretch, then you've got a chance to maybe make the playoffs or make a push for that wild card spot. But yeah, I mean, I think that if you're Robert Saleh and you're the Jets coaching staff and the Jets front office, you are looking at Woody Johnson saying, "Look, dude, this is why we went and traded for Aaron Rodgers because we thought we were a quarterback away." And I don't know that they're better than 3-3 with Rodgers per se, but I mean, they're probably maybe 4-2. Like I think that's the kind of the funny thing is. Like they might just be the same 3-3 team, but you feel a little bit better because they had Rodgers, and now the buzz is that he's like, oh, he might be coming back for the playoffs. It's
stop it! He's not coming back for the playoffs. And the Jets aren't going to make the playoffs because they still have too many issues on the offensive side of the ball. But they have. I mean, obviously the defense played very well yesterday, and it was kind of remarkable. Like I think there are more people doubting, and these 2 games are almost the same. The Jets,
Niners and Browns versus
you knew exactly where I was going.
Quarterbacks.
Jets beating the Eagles and the Niners falling to Cleveland. To me, for a lot of people, becomes is Jalen Hurts really that good, and is Brock Purdy really that good? I think the first guy is, but they couldn't run it, so it kind of exposed them a little bit. And I think when Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel went out, I thought it exposed the 49ers a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I feel like I've been saying this. So, sometimes you feel like you've been repeating like things for weeks on the NFL, and it's like, and people are like, "Well, that's an interesting idea." You're like, but I feel like for the past few weeks, we've been like, okay, the Eagles are undefeated, but they don't really look great in the passing game. And then at the same time, you look at Indianapolis, where their old offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, is running the offense. Indy's running with a much better tempo, much better pace, and Philadelphia's a little clunky in the passing game. And so it was fair to say they're undefeated, but and then the Niners, it's like they're undefeated, but this team never stays healthy. And that's always a concern with them. And then immediately you go to Cleveland, it's like, Deebo hurt, CMC hurt, and the Browns have one of the best defenses in football. So it's no shame in not scoring a ton of points on them. But it is a stark contrast from the truck stick the Niners laid on the Cowboys last Sunday night to putting up 17 points in Jake Moody, runner-up for the Lou Groza Award, to NC State's own Chris Dunn. Shout out Chris Dunn, who misses this 37-yard field goal.
Yeah,
I mean,
you win the game probably.
Yeah, so the Niners are great, but they got to stay healthy. And the Eagles are great, but that passing game is at least a little concern. One of those picks by Jalen Hurts, too, was a really deflected. Weird like pop-up. Yeah, deflected, pop-up in the air. I mean, I said all offseason, Eagles fans got so bottom hurt about it.
You can say butt hurt. What's the problem?
I don't know why. I don't know why I paused him.
You can say that.
I said Flamingo Jaberni a few weeks ago. Now I'm like scared to say butt hurt. I think that Eagles fans were like so upset in the same way that it was like, look, there might be some regression here from Jalen Hurts.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean that he gets worse as a player. It's just that what he did last year was MVP caliber performance. And he loses his OC. And by the way, this is the big one. Actually, this is the big one to watch for the Eagles. I forgot about this. I talked about this in the pod. 8:40 left in the first quarter. Eagles are up 7-0. They're around midfield. Lane Johnson gets hurt.
Yes.
6 plays later, they scored a touchdown. They don't score again, and the offense completely stagnated. And you can go back and look at Carson Wentz's splits with Lane Johnson on the field and off the field, and they were a massive difference. Like he's been the best right tackle in football for a long time. And if he's missing, that is a big, big deal to that Eagles offensive line.
Yeah, and a lot of the problems came from that side of the field as well.
Yep.
Not the blind side. A lot of the stuff came basically right at Jalen Hurts. Hurts was
good defensive coaching, by the way, to say, all right, Lane Johnson's out. Let's attack that spot and force them to defend there.
I actually thought Jalen Hurts was the best player on the field for either team. Hurts was the only reation the Eagles offense had anything going on.
Yeah. He kept plays alive. Yeah, and Devontae Smith with horrible drop where he's probably scoring a long touchdown, hits him in the hands, and he'd been complaining all week, I think, or like this is like the Devontae Smith squeaky wheel game apparently, and he just laid an egg.
Worst play, the Devontae Smith drop or the Allen Lazard crackback block down the field, which negated about a 30-yard Garrett Wilson gain and made it on a free play where there was offside, so it offsets. I mean, that's like a terrible rule where you're basically being punished for like running the free play. Like, yeah, the crackback block, pretty bad. Very bad. All right, the Commandos are 3-3. Will Brinson, by the way, is joining us, Pick Six Podcast, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. Their best game was probably their loss to Philadelphia on the road in terms of, quality of opponent matched up with how you played. 3 of their next 4 are on the road, and then they have the Giants at home, and then they go to Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. I don't think they're good, but that was a good win at Atlanta. What chances do you give them to be in the playoff picture as we head to Thanksgiving?
So again, let's look at this from a totality perspective, right? You beat the Cardinals by 4 in your week 1 home opener.
Right.
The Cardinals aren't good. They're frisky, but they're
terrible.
Not good.
Right.
You sneak by the Broncos on a crazy comeback on the road in week 2. The Broncos objectively trash.
Yes.
Blown out by the Bills. Like you said, the close game against the Eagles, inspired play. Come right back and just get obliterated by the Bears at home on a short week by 20 points. And then you go and steal one in Atlanta with Sam Howell playing pretty well. I think that this team they're currently the 8th seed in the NFC. the NFC is fascinating. I mean, obviously it's too early to say here are the playoff teams, but like Philly, San Francisco, Detroit are playoff teams.
Yes. I'm not sure Detroit's right there. I think the 49ers are still the best
Detroit might
team.
be the best team in football, dude.
Yeah,
like, I'm not even kidding.
I think San Francisco is, depending on the injury situation, but Detroit is definitely there. Yeah.
But I mean, like, but then you sort of look at like Tampa, probably only one team feels like it's going to come out of the NFC South. Although like somebody could steal a wild card berth.
No.
But, like Seattle, Dallas, and LA the Rams feel like pretty decent wild card teams. I don't know. Like,
right. I like the Rams.
And then in the AFC, it's like Kansas City, Miami, Baltimore, Jacksonville, and Buffalo. I mean, that's 5 playoff teams, barring like some kind of injury. I don't know. Like, it's week 6. I don't want to say these spots are filled up. It's just that it looks like it's going to be a bunch of teams fighting for a couple of spots on both sides of it. And Washington is there in terms of fighting for that spot, but only because they're scheduled at the Giants next week. Eagles at home. It's a tough game, of course. At the Pats, at the Seahawks, Giants at home, and then Cowboys and Dolphins. Like, if they sweep the Giants and beat the freaking pathetic Belichick's,
they're terrible. We're going to get to that.
Yeah. Then they can absolutely make the playoffs. But Washington still has to play again. Philly once, Dallas twice. They got San Francisco. They got to play the Rams. They got to play the Seahawks. So they have all the good teams left from the NFC West. And the Cowboys twice, and the Eagles. I don't know what they are either, and I don't want to make the leap and say they're good quite yet, but they could. I mean,
they're not good.
Everybody's kind of scuffling in the NFC East. Too.
They're not good, but the next couple of weeks are going to tell us everything about them.
Have to sweep the Giants.
Yeah, have to sweep the Giants, and you have to beat the Patriots in New England. You must do that. Speaking of the NFC South, because you mentioned it. The division champion in the NFC South will have blank number of wins, Will. How many?
Again, talking about totality here, right?
Yep.
The Buccaneers are 3-2. They've had their bye already. They beat the Vikings by 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
They handled the Bears, which is like cool. The Bears aren't very good.
The Bears can lose to the Bears.
Bears can lose to anybody. Yeah, exactly. They got destroyed by the Eagles, beat up on the Saints. And then I know it's only 20-6. I mean, it's still a 2-score game. Like, the Lions owned that game yesterday. Like, that was a dominant performance by the Lions. And so they have like Atlanta, then Buffalo, then Houston, Tennessee, San Francisco. Like, I would say 9 is the answer.
I'm not sure the answer is not 8.
I'm not sure the answer is not 8.5.
So
7 might be the answer.
It is. We've seen divisions won with 7, when it was a 16-team league, right? We saw Panthers won a division at 7, 8, and a tie. Believe Washington won the division a couple of years ago, 7, 8, and 1, correct?
Hey, look, the Panthers have at least 1 to 2 winnable games left.
No, they don't.
I mean,
they don't.
They
do, obviously, yes.
I do think that you can, and I'm not suggesting that the Panthers are any good. Don't get me wrong.
No, they're terrible.
But they're bad. But I mean, like they played at Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, they Atlanta
had the lead in the second half of that game.
I'm just saying, like, the Lions and the Dolphins, we're looking at the last 2 weeks of the Panthers, and they got slaughtered. But I think if I was revising my Super Bowl pick right now, I'd pick Lions versus Dolphins in the Super Bowl.
Okay, that would be fun. Yeah. That'd be by the way, very colorful Super Bowl.
PC, it would be. It just is very aesthetically appealing.
Oh my gosh, a lot of teal,
Dan
lot of
Campbell,
blue. Yeah.
Dan Campbell, aka PC Principal, revenge game against his old team where he was the interim head coach.
That's right.
And by the way, like I wouldn't have a problem if we just like relegated the Panthers or like moved them to Albuquerque or something.
Look, I think what we saw from the Panthers.
I don't know why I got us on the Panthers.
No, it's fine. What we saw from the Panthers Sunday, I thought was somewhat encouraging from a Bryce Young standpoint. I think, and I'm going to talk about this more. I don't know what the value is on the right now on the trade market, but the Albert Breer piece that Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, who's not even being used really by this coaching staff, don't get it. Dante Jackson and Terrace Marshall Jr. are all on the trade block, and I'm trading all 4 of them if I can because they absolutely must rebuild, and they don't have the assets to do it.
You don't have a dude. Like my issue is like if I'm the front office, and again, like some of this goes back to, I mean, we think we know just how influential David Tepper was in trading for Bryce Young.
Right.
I mean, Frank Reich, yeah, sort of implied it, sort of stated it really. But like, if you're Scott Fitterer and you're this front office and you make all those trades and you try to get assets back, like, are we getting, like, when you give those players away, you're making your team worse, if that's possible.
I don't care. If I get a first round pick back.
Give away the number one overall pick.
Yeah,
you might give the number one overall pick back. Can you trade it to the Bears for your pick? Like, here you go, Chicago. Here's a bunch of players. Give us our pick back.
Yeah,
we don't want to be humiliated.
That is not happening. That pick is going to be very early in the NFL draft. That pick that now belongs to the Chicago Bears.
Panthers need to scuffle their way to 5 or 6 wins and just not give away a top 3 pick.
No, I mean it's about getting yourself better. It's not. I don't care about anybody else. I
can't handle the FOMO of like if I was like, I cannot believe I went to work for this guy that made me trade away that pick.
Well, Scott Fitterer hasn't distinguished himself either, so I think Scott Fitterer might be working for a different organization next year. If it was up to me, he would. All right, let me ask this question: Cowboys and Chargers tonight. Which team is the bigger fraud?
Good question.
Different levels. Thank you very much. Different levels of fraud, but which team is the bigger fraud?
Who's the bigger fraud?
Yeah.
Well, the Chargers are 2-2, coming off a bye. Their 2 losses are combined by a combined 5 points.
Right.
To the Dolphins and then the Titans, who they had no business letting back in that game. The Cowboys' 3 wins, they're 3-2. Are a blow, like they slaughtered the Patriots, Jets, and Giants. At which point we've come to realize that, and they slaughtered the Jets in week 2,
right?
Right, when like the Jets were like coming off of that, just you read the stories leading up to it, and then the post game where it's like, oh, as it turns out that Aaron Rodgers' injury had a damaging psychological impact on the Jets and heading into week 2. They just weren't ready for the Cowboys on the road. The Giants are hot trash. The Patriots are hotter trash.
Yep.
And they lost to the Cardinals where they just clearly weren't focused for that game. And they got like mollywopped, if that's still a word,
totally
by the Niners.
Yep.
So I look at this game as the Cowboys are probably a little more fraudulent. And I think that we get a full-blown Kellen Moore revenge game on Mike McCarthy, who said, it's not personal. It's like, dude, you fired him. And you like fast talked him on the way out. It's definitely personal. I think we get deep bombs from Justin Herbert all over the secondary.
The outcome of this game is immaterial to the correct answer. I think the correct answer is the Chargers.
Both? Yes.
Yeah, it's probably both. I think the Cowboys are who they are, which is a team that is not quite at the level of the top teams in the NFC. They are best of the rest, if you will. But the Chargers, you say who the Chargers lost to, right? Both of their wins, Brandon Staley asked to get beat in both of those games, right? Begged to get beat in both of those games. So,
who would you rather have coaching your team?
Oh my
gosh. Your life is on the line in a playoff game. You got to pick between Brandon Staley or
Mike McCarthy? Wow, that's a better question than the one I asked you. The answer is Brandon Staley. I think the answer is Brandon Staley, because what I don't need is somebody being super conservative. I want somebody who's a little bit of a risk taker, and I think Staley
go down guns. If I'm going to go down, I'm going down guns blazing.
Ultimately, it's the same chance, I believe. I don't think anything's changing.
I agree with that. I don't want to be the guy who goes down where it's like Mike McCarthy's remembered for one, like that, like he's won a Super Bowl, so I mean that's clearly a bee in his bonnet. I'm really throwing out some like
bee in his bonnet, channeling my friend John Forsland here. Very nice.
Wait.
Canes are playing in Seattle on Thursday.
Why am I talking like somebody in a 1940s speakeasy today? Like,
do you have a hat that says press on it? Do you have a little fedora that says press on the side? Final thing for Will Brinson. Let me ask you this, because we do have to go. But Is it over for Bill Belichick? Teddy Bruschi came out on
very interesting
ESPN
commentary
this morning.
from Teddy Bruschi, I thought. Yeah,
because I think he nailed it. It's not this
what
team.
What is Bill coaching for now?
Right, he's coaching for the record.
If Bill was doing this, like, is Robert Kraft not firing him simply because he wants him to break Don Shula's record in New England?
He's going to have to coach 4 more years.
It might be a while at this pace. Now I think the other interesting thing though is like Bill Belichick's been, the Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he's the greatest coach of all time, in my opinion. If the Patriots have one win, and they have to play the Panthers, I think, right?
Do they? I don't know. That would be.
I don't know. I can't remember. No, they don't. They don't. No. But like, the Patriots could get the number one pick. They're that bad.
Yes, they
can't block. They can't run. They can't pass. They can't stop the pass. They can't rush the passer. Everyone's hurt. Yeah. Like, they're that bad. They play in a division where their next 2 games after losing to Josh McDaniels and the Raiders, are against Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins and Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills, 2 teams who have spent the last 20 years being beat down by the Patriots and love nothing more than to really stick it to Bill Belichick when he's down. So, like, if the Patriots get a top 5 pick and can reboot with Drake May or Caleb Williams or whoever it is, the question ultimately is, like, do you let Bill Belichick lead that reboot?
I don't let Bill Belichick draft anymore. That's the problem with the New England Patriots, is that Belichick, look, they've
been better the last 2 years, but they made some decent picks. They just haven't, like, they had this insane edge. They had all these edges, right? Belichick was always ahead of the curve on the rules. He was always his game theory in terms of how he approached in game decision making was ahead of the curve. They had Tom freaking Brady on a cheap contract, and for a long period of time, he had different, like, spots in terms of analytics and player acquisition where he had advantages over people. Those are all gone,
right?
And they don't have as much talent on the roster, and they stink.
It's a talent problem. The Patriots have had a talent problem since Brady's last year. Offensively, they haven't had enough talent to really compete. Belichick is a wonderful coach. He cannot be the guy that drafts and scouts and all of that. Coach the guys that somebody better than you at that gives you. But I don't think he's willing to do that, and I think
exactly.
Think it's
if Robert Kraft says you have to give up the GM title, Bill Belichick is going to say, I'm out, and then
just retire.
I mean,
it's not. Is it that, like, we have to go? But is it that big a deal to not be the all-time winningest coach? He's got the most Super Bowls by 1 billion.
Dude, he's like 18 wins away.
So
No. If I've been coaching for 30 years,
Don Shula's got what? 2 Super Bowls? 3 Super Bowls? 3?
Not. He has a perfect season and 1 more. I think maybe 2.
2.
Sure, it's not 1.
You got 8, 6, 7, whatever it is. That's the biggest. That's the most important record in football. As a coach, there's nothing more important than that.
Yeah.
You have
Shula has 2 Super Bowls and an NFL title, I think.
Just stop. All right.
I want all the wins.
We have to say goodbye. You're the best.
See you, buddy.
Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports.com.